Good afternoon, and welcome to the tea table. I am so happy you have joined me today. And yes, we're entering the beautiful month of February. Isn't it gorgeous today? The sun is out. And today is February 2nd, which is Candlemass Day, the final day of Christmas in the church calendar, the 40th day when it is believed Mary went to the temple for her purification and brought the baby Jesus. And so in the traditional church calendar, you remember Christmas really started 4 Sundays before with Advent. Then we had Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, 6 days later, Epiphany of the Three Kings, and now the final day, particularly for our friends in the Russian and Greek Orthodox Church. They keep this until Candlemas Day is the final day. And some of the old vintage traditions include to take all the ornaments off the tree after Epiphany and put white turtle doves and white lights representing the offering that was brought, that Mary would have brought to the temple on the 40th day to offer and consecrate and dedicate the baby Jesus. So that's a little history lesson. I love to learn something new every day, don't you? And probably a lot of you already know that. But some don't, and it's fun to learn. And I am wearing today a black, white, and brown shawl, and it reminded me, I thought I'm going to wear that and talk about the sheep. If you were never to dye wool, this is the color your woolens would be, either white, gray, or a little charcoal brown, the 3 tones of the sheep and the natural wool. And in Scotland, they have a tartan and a plaid that is the natural sheep tones. Isn't that interesting? Because to dye the wool took a lot, particularly in the olden days. They would use natural dyes and colors and fruits and cranberries and all kinds of things to bring the color. And that's why woolen was so expensive and silk was so expensive. It was dyeing that, making the colorful. The more colorful, the more expensive it would have been. Well, I'm also wearing what I call a tam o' shanter. You see? It's a beret, and in the olden days, they called them tam o' shanters. This is brown corduroy, wide wheel corduroy. And I think it's very kind of British, Scottish looking. And I like it. And I read a book years ago called The House of a Thousand Candles. And it was just kind of a novel, kind of a mystery about the house with the thousand. I can't remember the storyline, but I remember one of the chapters was the girl with the red tam o' shanter. And that's what they would call a beret like this, a tam o' shanter. That's the real name. That's why then it's shortened to tam. And the French word is beret. And often you'll find the pure wool berets are made in France. But the tam o' shanter often has kind of a poofy ball on top, yarn, and that is very Scottish, British, Irish. So that's another fun little thing we're going to learn today. And I thought I found these coin necklaces I've had for a long time. They're real coins. This one has the John F. Kennedy 50-cent piece in it. and old, this is Queen Elizabeth. And then this is, and maybe that 50-cent piece was done in England. I think Ireland actually did a coin for John F. Kennedy in honor of him, because they were so thrilled to have an Irish American president. And so I think maybe these are British coins. And then these are coins that are more symbols. And then these are more around the world coins. And when I visited the Getty Museum in, there are two in California, but the beautiful one on the water there in Malibu is the one that I got to visit. And it has Roman, Greek artifacts, thousands of artifacts. And they had necklaces very similar to this from pre-Christ, like 400 BC. I mean, and then the Romans copied the Greeks and would also do the coin necklaces. Isn't that interesting? And then this is a little Baltic amber, which matches my rings. I really love Baltic amber. It's a stone that comes in the Baltic Sea. And if you study the root of it, it is actually petrified wood that turns into a stone. And this is one color, this is a green color, and then this is a brown color. And so there's so much of it. And there's a famous room that was in Europe that the Germans took. And I believe they took it from the Russians, and it was called the Amber Room. And it was all made out of Baltic amber, all the walls. I mean, it was an incredible thing. And during World War II, the Germans took it, dismantled it, and hid it. And no one has found it. They're still looking for it because they wanted to take it. And this is what happens in war, that people will take things that they like from other countries, and to take that room apart and haul it on a train and then hide it somewhere. It's a treasure they're still searching for. Isn't that fascinating? So Baltic amber, my maternal grandfather, on my mother's side, it would have been her father was named Gottlieb Hecke, and he was from Danzig, which is right on the Baltic Sea. And at that time, it was held by the Germans. He was German and came to America in the 1870s. This is unbelievable, because one time I figured out he would have been the same age as Winston Churchill, because I believe Winston Churchill is born in 1876, and then he lives until 1962. So he was really born as a true Victorian. He would have been 25 years old when Queen Victoria was having her Diamond Jubilee. And so he saw all of that. And then he was part of World War I. And then as an older man, he ends up being a major part of World War II. What a life. What a biography. I mean, we recently saw another new biography of him, a documentary that had such beautiful filming. There's so much done on his life. And if you study him, you really cover 2 centuries. You cover all of that Victorian era into the Boer Wars at the turn of the century in South Africa. He was there. He even led a brigade in India. He was in the army as a young man in the British forces. He was brave, and he begged them to let him have a horse, and he went right out to battle, saw it all. And then of course, the terrible World War One. Ooh, that was so terrible. I mean, all war is terrible, but that was, oh, that was gruesome. Ah, for all sides, but particularly Great Britain. It is said they lost the flower of England in World War One. So much loss, so sad. But people must go on and rebuild and start again. And that's what life is, isn't it? Yes, picking up the pieces, going forward, and making something beautiful happen again. Well, if you haven't gotten your tea yet, please pause the video and get your tea. We need tea today. And I have to show you. Now behind me, you see Queen Nefertiti? She's one of my favorite people in history. And this painting of her is so special. My husband uses this painting every time he teaches the Old Testament. This is, if I could pick it up for you, you know, it's so heavy, I can't pick it up. You just have to see the top part. This is from Luxor, Egypt, and on the back it says Luxor, Egypt. And Queen Nefertiti was, it's a mystery, but some people believe that she was Pharaoh's princess who took Moses from the bulrushes and raised him. Remember when Moses and his sister, well, he was a baby, and the Pharaoh said all the babies were going to die, and so he was put in a little bulrush, and in the bulrush is in a little basket, and his mother sent his sister Miriam down to watch him, and the beautiful princess said, "Oh, a baby," and she took him to her palace and raised him. And then that was very important because God used Moses to deliver the Israelites out of Egypt, didn't he? There was a real plan in that. And his brother Aaron was the priest. Well, there is a Pharaoh that comes right around that time, and he only worships the one, what he calls the one true God. I think his name is Ashtion, and it's the unique and it's so ancient that people can't really get all the details. It's like what you call the blur of history. You're not seeing it totally clear, but some people believe that he accepted the God of Moses and that perhaps this daughter rescued, and then after that a bad Pharaoh came. So we don't know the full story, but it's an interesting, and Nefertiti was considered the most beautiful woman in the world. You know, she was a princess, and she was very intelligent. She could speak other languages, it is believed. You know, later Cleopatra is, you know, the last Egyptian leader, and by that time, that is after Alexander the Great had conquered the world, and Egypt was being ruled by the Ptolemies, which were actually one of his Greek generals, and that's Cleopatra was a Ptolemy, so she really wasn't an original Egyptian, but she was also considered the beautiful woman that knew all the languages, very intelligent, and she wanted to rule. And of course, we know the story of her and Mark Antony and all of the lore that goes with that. But Queen Nefertiti, there's nothing bad said about Queen Nefertiti. She was a good queen. And so anyway, all over Egypt, you will find replicas of her. And I was in Cairo, and I saw a lot of that when I was young. I didn't go to Luxor. A group went from I was on a tour from my college, and a group went down to what they call the Valley of the Kings, which is in Luxor. But that day, the rest of us stayed in Cairo, And we had an incredible experience because my friend that I had met in Egypt on the plane going over, named Ida Fahim Gayed, took a small group of us. She said, would you like to climb the Great Pyramid? And we said, oh my, yes. And so she could speak Egyptian. We went out to the pyramids and we rode camels and went up and climbed inside. She got a small young Arab boy to help us get in, and we went inside up. You can look up the Great Pyramid. We went up to the Queen's Chamber and then up to the King's Chamber. And really the Great Pyramid, what it really is, it was an observatory of the stars. It is right in the center of the delta, right in this. It's considered the center of the earth, and it's the best place. You can see all the stars lining up. And no one knows how it was built. When I was there, you see these, one of those big squares is as big as a house, literally. No one knows how did they get it together? Excuse me, a mystery. But we went all the way up to the King's Chamber, and that was a workout. That was like climbing a mountain. I was young in those days. It didn't bother me. I felt like it really was a tremendous, good workout. I don't know that I could do that today. I think I would watch others. But I have a tea tray here, and I want to pick up my whole little table to show you. Do you see? I put camels. Do you see my camel cloth I have? It's a beautiful camel cloth with all kinds of Egyptian designs, and it sits, actually I have it on my piano bench normally, but I thought since we had Nefertiti and we're going to have tea. And the tea tray today is nice and light. I am going to share with you the little teapot I use every day, sometimes twice. This is my little Empress Hotel. This is, let me move the little creamer so you can see. This is all Empress Hotel. This is the Empress Hotel Tea Cozy. Do you see the crown with the cross over it and the royal orb? It says Empress Hotel. And that's in Victoria, BC. I know most of you know about that. Then I have a little tea towel that has Empress Hotel. And it has the recipe to make the scone. And what happened was, the Empress Hotel is over 100 years old. It was built for Queen Victoria for her Diamond Jubilee, turn of the century, 1902, 1905. And so that hotel has been going, and they have had all kinds of different china. And when one of the queens, I think it was when Queen Mary and the grandmother of the queen that just passed, Mary and I think George, when they came, they created this beautiful china for them. And it was like hundreds of pieces. And this is what it looked like. Now I am going to show you. This is a tea cozy. And I love this it's a little unique tea cozy that you can leave it on, but I'm going to take it off so that I can show you my little Empress teapot. Now, my husband and I, we love the Empress. Haven't been there since the COVID lockdown because everything was closed and we couldn't go over the border, but hopefully this year. But on the last trip there, maybe 5 years ago, my husband bought me this, and it's tea for one from the Empress. And I had never known what a special pot this is. I have probably used this hundreds of times. This is my teapot that I use every day. I usually have coffee in the morning, and then late morning, I feel like something hot, I'll have tea. And then I sometimes have it also early in the afternoon. So sometimes I have two pots. I put 2 bags in this, and I'm going to show you the inside of this cup. Do you see it has the crown? Everything has this symbolic crown on it. What happened was this china had been made for them, but they had totally forgotten about it. It had been packed away, and when they did a remodel in the 1990s and early 2000s, they found boxes of it. And so then they found that it was lead. There was lead with it. So they sent it to England, had it redesigned, reproduced, but it's the same pattern. And so this is my tea for one. I pour it very slowly out like this because it's very full. And I like a bag of Tetley and a bag of my, often I have breakfast in Paris. I like that. And then I have a little baby creamer. And this creamer is so incredible. It holds so much. I've measured it out, and this little creamer almost holds as much as a big creamer. I don't know how it does it. It's the shape of it. Because I generally have a small tray. So now I have a cup for you, because I have another cup. This was from I think it was one of our wedding anniversaries. My husband bought me this, and this is a cup. So this is your cup, and this is mine. And this is the same pattern, you see? And let me taste my tea. Oh my goodness, it's delicious. It's so good. It stays so hot in this little pot. And then I have a little treat, and this is a special treat. And I have my sterling silver fork, and this is coconut cream pie for you. No calories, just take it. Happy Candlemass Day. Have that. Now I want to show you this tray I have. Let's see if I can line up some of these things. This tray that I have all of my things on is so special. And this was a gift to me from my dear friend. And she found this for me. And because my name is Susan Elizabeth, this is an Elizabeth commemorating her 25th. It's 1952 to 1977, her silver jubilee, and it's got all the symbols of Queen Elizabeth. It is the most perfect tray for tea. I love this tray. And so I can put on my cup, my pot, my creamer. Now I can put on your cup. See how much room I have on here? I can put on the dessert, the treat. That treat is actually my husband's. It's for him. And then I have my little tea cozy, see? And so everything fits on this beautiful tray. It is just such a nice tray, and it has a ledge. And I think tea trays are so wonderful because it makes it possible for you to take and have your tea anywhere. And at the Empress, they always served high tea in the foyer. And it was beautiful old antique chairs and little tables and a little table maybe with a silver top. And I might take my scarf off now and show you my jacket, because I have a fun jacket on, and I think the coins look nice with the jacket. And against the black, I think they go well. And the hat. So anyway, at the Empress, all through the years, you learn to have tea. You learn what tea is. And the ladies would come and very organized, serve it to all the people, but everyone would sit in different armchairs and then have coffee tables or tea tables. And I remember a darling little antique Victorian small table, and on top they had put a silver tray. It was attached permanently. What a good idea. It made everything work so well. And so here it is, tea for two. Isn't that nice? And you can go to your living room. I have a little place by my fireplace that is so cozy in the winter. And that's where I have my tea in the morning. I enjoy it. I will catch up on my business and do things that I need to do, but my tea is right there, and it's very simple to have it on a tray. And if you have a cozy, now this cozy is really uniquely, like I said, very uniquely designed, because it's designed to stay on the pot. And so you don't have to take it off. And it just stays right on and keeps everything very, very warm. Very, very nice. Well, I also thought, I've been thinking about history, and I love history so much. It's my passion, really. And I was thinking about American history. And what is it that made our country so great? What makes us different? It's a love for freedom. And that freedom came from really, the roots of that freedom come from the Bible. It comes from the fact that the ground is level at the cross. And from the Old Testament, where in Sinai they settled and God gave them the law, which was like a constitution. Leaving Egypt was like a declaration of independence. Freedom, freedom, freedom to self-govern. Yes, self-govern. It's a phenomenon. And if you look around the world, you will find very few countries have ever mastered that. It is only possible when everyone follows the same code and does it out of a heart understanding and has a belief that it's faith and it's the best is yet to come, and it's the optimism, and it comes from knowing that there is a plan, that God had a plan, a people, and a purpose. And his plan was that everyone would dwell under their own vine and fig tree, and everyone would have the freedom to make their own decisions within the framework of his law and his order. He only gave 10 commands. Very simple. And it starts with honoring him. Thou shalt have no other gods before him. And those first 6 commandments, the first 4 commandments all relate to us. And then the latter commandments relate to our relationship with one another. Honor thy father and mother. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not covet. Simple, really simple. And that is why our country is so great. And that is what we need to have a good country. It won't come from just dreaming or imagining. It's that each of us understand we have a gift, and that gift is liberty and freedom from our forefathers. And I think it's important we remember that, and we are thankful for that. And we teach the next generation to be grateful and respectful of the past, and take all the good and blend it with today, and look forward to a good future. Well, thank you so much for joining me. And we have been accompanied by Corelli. Yes, beautiful Corelli. His music just is so light and happy and moves me. He's part of that great Italian group. He's a contemporary of Vivaldi and Pachelbel, and they're early. They play so beautifully, right out of the Renaissance. Beautiful. And Renaissance means rebirth. Remember, we learned that? Aha, I have one other thing to show you. I did bring a special little purse that matches my hat. And this is real leather, and it holds everything, just small, but it has a strap, so it can be hanging like this. And I can have hands free. And I know that this looks like alligator. It's real leather. I know it's not alligator, but it's a pretend alligator leather. But real leather. You know what I'm talking about. Well, take your tea. Spring is coming. I'm going to get some flowers for my front porch. I want to get some of those wonderful bulb flowers that I'm going to get some tulips. And maybe a crocus. And we'll see what else. Something I have to be careful. It has to be really strong because it's cold. It's still very cold. It has to be strong enough to maintain 30 degrees or 35 degrees at night. Well, thank you again for joining me. This has been so fun. I appreciate you all so much. Please make a comment. Please tell me if there's a subject you would like me to talk about. And please, if you haven't subscribed yet to my channel, I would appreciate it if you would. And push the like button and share with a friend. It's just us having tea once a week and having good thoughts and happy future feelings. We're optimistic. We know the best is yet to come. God bless you and have a fabulous week.